Every picture I sent you, my face was just stupid.
Yeah, you were.
I don't know. I couldn't do it. Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the Watch It Bro podcast. As always, I am Tristan,
And I am Marshall.
and today we are starting a two-part series
Yes,
on
we are.
the Mummy movies.
Sorry, I thought you paused for me to comment.
No, I didn't even pause.
You may have taken a breath.
Excuse me for breathing.
I saw my opportunity. I took it.
Yeah, you did. Well, you can definitely say that these episodes aren't scripted.
Mm-mm. They are not. I have nothing written down.
Of course. Marshall gets to watch a movie, and then he comes and sits on a couch and interrupts my mojo.
Yeah, that's how we've been doing it.
Pretty much.
I'm
But mom and dad like it.
Down. They do.
Sure. You write a few things down.
Do.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this was not my movie, so I didn't write anything down, but...
Sure, of course. and next week you probably still won't write anything down.
No, it's my movie, so I will.
Uh-huh. Something about that seemed extremely disingenuous. But I digress.
Looking for the banter?
No, I was gonna talk, and I was just expecting you to say something, so I was waiting for you to get it out of the way.
That's fair.
I was giving you your opportunity to speak.
Oh, okay. So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Got my Mountain Dew. I'm happy.
I got my coffee. I'm moderately amused.
So if you had Mountain Dew, you'd be happy?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, no.
Happier?
Dr. Pepper.
Ah, Dr. Happy.
See. No, when I said I was giving you a chance to talk, I half expected you to jump into, I am the very model of a modern Major General. I don't know why.
It seems appropriate.
Yeah, based on nothing more than the fact that we saw that in Home Improvement, and it stuck with us the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it's a good show.
That was a great bit. Al, can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Think about that. That would be a fun rewatch podcast to do.
That would be. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there now.
Of Home Improvement?
No, rewatch podcasts.
There are. There's tons of them.
But
we don't have time.
No, there's too much to watch and so much little time to do it.
Yeah. Because we'd have, gosh, I'm just thinking of the list of shows that we'd want to go through. I can think of 7 off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Most of them are between 8 and 12 seasons.
Okay, so it's not going to happen.
Yet, anyway.
Yet?
What, when our kids grow up and move away?
Yeah, possibly. We retire, we got other things to do.
Yeah, have a lot more time on our hands.
Yeah.
As we said, this is not a TV show rewatch podcast. It is a movie rewatch podcast, watch and review podcast. And today we're going to talk about the first of the 2 Mummy movies we're going to do.
I like that.
What?
The first of the 2 Mummy movies we're going to do.
Well, because it's a trilogy.
Yes, and there's 5 Scorpion King movies.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to go into the Scorpion King movies. I was just talking about specifically The Mummy.
Yes, there's currently 3 movies.
And then the remake with Tom Cruise.
Yes, you could call that a remake.
They tried to reboot the Mummy series like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, called the Dark Universe.
Yeah, and they were going to use all the Universal monsters in it. And I wouldn't call it a remake of this Mummy series. It was more of a remake of the original Universal monsters from back in the 30s, I would say.
It was a reboot of The Mummy, is what they called it.
Okay.
They were rebooting that franchise.
Right. And they wanted to do a cinematic Marvel-style universe because everybody was trying at the time.
Yeah, and only Marvel was doing it well.
Yes, because they announced this whole slate of movies. The Mummy came out, and then it just fizzled because nothing else came out.
It performed horribly.
It did. It did not do
And
well.
and that is why it did not get any more movies.
I mean, they had people cast, they had scripts lined up. I believe Javier Bardem was playing the Frankenstein monster. Johnny Depp was the Invisible Man. They were banking a lot on this, and that first movie did not do well.
No, it was a disaster.
It was.
And you kind of can't have that when you're trying to start off a franchise.
No, you can't. But you can't really expect to start a franchise like that.
They did, though.
They did. And if you go in with that whole mindset, it's a lot harder than what Marvel did. Was like, well, let's just make them a few movies. If they start doing well, maybe we could do an Avengers movie where we bring everybody together, and then it just snowballed. But if their first few movies hadn't done good, they would have just had the 4 movies come out and probably never did the Avengers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So The Mummy.
Yes, The Mummy.
It was directed by Stephen Sommers.
It was.
The story was by Stephen Sommers, Lloyd Fonville, and Kevin Jarre. It is loosely based on the 1932 film of the same name.
Correct.
Must you chime in on everything I say?
I mean, if I don't, it's just me listening to you.
Fair. It is starring the great Brendan Fraser, who you might remember from Airheads earlier in our podcast.
He wasn't Airheads, a hidden gem among movies.
Debatable. He also played George of the Jungle, and he was... Go ahead.
I was going to say, which incidentally got him this role.
That's why I brought it up.
Okay.
And he was also in Encino Man with Pauly Shore.
He was. A character which he reprised 3 times, I believe.
Really?
Link? Yeah. And not big parts. He was like Private Link in in the Army Now with Pauly Shore. So he had like a brief cameo where he played Link in the Army.
He also played Dudley Do-Right, didn't he?
He did, because they did so well with George of the Jungle. Like, well, we can make him anybody.
You pretty much could.
And that one didn't do as well.
No, it didn't do as well, but it was fun. I remember watching it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But he was a pretty big name all throughout the 90s. And then, well, I'm sure a lot of our listeners know he kind of fell off for quite a while in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
More of the later aughts and on. And then recently had would you call it a resurgence?
Yeah. Yeah, resurgence is a good word.
With The Whale. And people have always loved the man, so...
Yes, he is a one of those lovable actors that people just like.
Yes.
Similar to a Jack Black or Paul Rudd.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, that works.
Moving on, we have Rachel Weisz, who was in The Bourne Legacy, Oz the Great and Powerful, and most famously as Natasha Romanoff's mother figure in Black Widow.
I wouldn't
returning in the Thunderbolts.
I was gonna say I wouldn't say most famously, but
I meant most recently.
Okay, yes.
I don't know.
I mean, I liked Black Widow, but I wouldn't say that's her most iconic role. I'd say this is it.
Sure. Yes, recently was the word we were looking for. Recently. Moving on, we have John Hannah, who was in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, he was. He was in several seasons of that.
Yes, he was. He was I dare say, a main character for a while.
Yeah. During seasons like 3, 4, and 5, he was a main recurring character. Maybe not that long, but when he was there, he was one of the main plot point characters.
Before they killed off his character.
Spoilers.
I was guessing.
I'm not sure about that either, though.
Yeah, I've never seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Not even one episode.
Ah.
After him, we have Arnold Vosloo, who was in Agent Cody Banks.
Ooh.
With Frankie Muniz, I believe.
Yes. That's who was in that one.
They are reviving Malcolm in the Middle.
For a miniseries.
Yeah. Which
I'm pretty sure
I'm pretty sure they're testing it, going to test it to see how well it does, and then if it takes off, they'll talk about doing
Oh yeah,
bringing it back for a
a full
couple
season.
season.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they
However
gotta
much,
test it first.
sure, however much they can capitalize on it. And as far as I know, the only person not returning is Dewey. He is going to be
Yes,
recast.
he has been recast, but yes, yeah, he's the
Yes,
only
he
one not
has
coming
been,
back
which
because he
I'm super excited for. He doesn't act. He doesn't want to act. He has no interest in acting.
exactly. I'm like, come on back. Like, I don't want to do it. Too bad.
But we are not a Malcolm in the Middle podcast.
Not yet.
We not yet. Very good. But we are talking about Arnold Vosloo, who also played Zortan in the G.I. Joe movies, and was in season 4. He was a main villain in season 4 of the show 24.
Okay. I wasn't expecting the GI Joe pull, but
Hey, sometimes I do the unexpected.
yes.
Moving on, we have Jonathan Hyde, who had a series of popular movies throughout the mid 90s. Richie Rich, Jumanji, Titanic, and Anaconda. Just because I know you weren't expecting the Anaconda poll.
It was not.
Moving on from him, we have Kevin J. O'Connor, who was in Canadian Bacon with the great John Candy, Van Helsing, and a mini-series called Catch 22, based on the book by Joseph Heller,
Interesting.
which I don't know if you've read that book.
I have not.
I have. I found it to be quite funny. I'm not sure what I'd think of it now because I read it many years ago, but it is a very flippant satire.
Okay. But going back to the Von Helsing of it really quick, that's also a movie by Stephen Sommers.
Ah.
Starring Hugh Jackman, and it's another foray into the Universal monsters with Dracula, Frankenstein monster, and Wolfman.
Okay. Very interesting. The Mummy was made on a budget of 80 million. Wowzers.
Wowzers.
And at the box office, it performed and brought in a whopping 418.1 million.
Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out. Yeah.
I'm like, I know that.
I was expecting you to get there faster, but hey, we're old.
I got there eventually. But
Slow and steady wins the race, Marsh.
It's not a marathon. Wait.
Apparently not. It's a sprint and it's over.
Oh, man.
So this was a long one.
Was it? It was only a 2-hour movie. Well, 2 hour and 5 minutes.
When you're expecting an hour and a half movie, it's a long.
Okay.
Especially when you have a long day at work. Also, because you're by yourself, and then you end up locking your keys in one of your rooms, and you have to wait for someone to bail you out.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a thing that I did. I got a little bit behind, so I was, trying to catch up, and I had some vandalism I needed to address, and I was trying to get the bit off the drill and couldn't, so I went to my little center room, maintenance room, set my keys down, grabbed the pliers to pull the bit out, and then grabbed another bit, and then turned around and walked out and slammed the door, reached in my pocket for my keys, and they weren't there. I'm by myself, so I had no coworker to call.
That's not good.
Well, I didn't have my usual rest area coworker to call, so I had to call my IR guy, but he was dealing with a wreck, so he didn't get back to me for 2 hours.
Dang. That's not a good place to be in.
No. But we're talking about the Mummy. So we start with the Universal logo. Because
Yes.
Marshall loves logos.
And
what they did here is really cool because the Universal logo spins and actually turns into the sun beating down on ancient Egypt.
Yes. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Originally, they were going to use the black and white Universal logo from 1932 from the original Mummy. They did not, however, but they, I guess, sad fact.
Do you know why they didn't?
I do not know why they didn't.
So, we get a good look at ancient Egypt, and we get narration over the top as we introduce Imhotep.
I so thought you were going to tell me why they didn't use the logo. Didn't end up going with it. Like, do you know why they didn't do it? No? Okay, we're moving on.
Yeah, I have no idea why they didn't. I'm glad you were waiting for that, though.
I'm like, oh, he's gonna say something. He knows a little bit more than I do on this.
Nope,
Nope, he
not
does
a bit.
nothing. He's just going, just passing through it.
That's right. So we have the narration over the top, and we get to meet Imhotep, who is the pharaoh's high priest.
Yes, and
And
originally this narration was supposed to be said by the actor that plays Imhotep as if he was telling the story. But then the director's like, well, he doesn't know English. He can't do this. So they gave it to the other character, Ardith Bay, to tell the story.
he has a name.
Yeah.
I just called him Head Magi the whole time.
I mean, he is the head magi, or close to it.
Anyway, so they introduce Imhotep and Anaxinamun,
Yes.
who Imhotep is the pharaoh's high priest. Anaxinamun is his wife, apparently, or the
His
pharaoh's
mistress?
wife.
No, his mistress.
Okay, but they're in love. It's all very Romeo and Juliet.
It is.
It's extremely Romeo and Juliet. Their love is forbidden because for some reason they love each. Well, it's a little bit darker than Romeo and Juliet because Romeo and Juliet don't kill their parents, and Imhotep and Anaxinamun totally kill the pharaoh.
Yes, but a
Which,
lot of people die in Romeo and Juliet. It's pretty dark.
sure, I'm just saying they don't start out killing the parents.
No, they do. They don't start out killing the parents.
They run away together.
Yes, they're having their secret affair. They get found out and they kill the pharaoh.
Yes.
They do not run away together.
Well,
Not in a general sense, because she tells him to flee with his priests, and she opts out by stabbing herself in the gut.
yes. And I like how they do that where you see it in the shadows on the wall.
Yeah, they wanted to keep the gore level down a little bit, like the older movies. You didn't see gore. You didn't see gore, but it was intense and from other visuals, which is
Right.
why they used shadows a lot. They used the power of the mind of what you don't see is sometimes more scarier.
Right. No, and I appreciate that. So yeah, as Marshall said, she sends him off because he, being a high priest, apparently has the ability to resurrect her. So
Yes,
he distracts, he escapes, and then he meets up with her a few days later, does the ritual,
he
and
meets up with her a few days later. No, they steal her body, to take her to the city of the dead, Hamunaptra, to perform the resurrection.
that's what I said.
They meet up a few days later.
Well, I mean, it's implied. Okay, she's, you know,
Yeah,
meet up a few days later. They obviously steal her body or whatever.
they obviously steal her body.
Basically,
Yes, but it's not a meetup.
ran into Gary.
Oh, that hurts. We haven't laughed that hard in a while.
Yeah, no kidding. What was that?
I was trying to breathe.
Don't hurt yourself. Uh,
Oh,
okay, so they meet up.
yes.
But the Pharaoh's bodyguard, which he still what the Pharaoh's gone. How does he still have bodyguards?
I mean, they still.
Is there a new Pharaoh?
Yeah, they got to find a new pharaoh, but they also their king is dead, so they got to do something about it.
But since
He might have a son.
Since Imhotep killed the king, doesn't that mean he's now king or pharaoh?
No, that's not how it works in Egypt.
Oh, maybe that's Vikings that did it that way.
Maybe Europeans did it that way. You conquer the king, you kill the king, you become the king.
Must be tough being king. So anyway, they follow Imhotep, the king's guard, the pharaoh's guard, follows Imhotep. So they interrupt him in like the middle of the ritual. Like
Yes.
she's almost back. You could see her. She like wakes up and she's like,
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'm back. I'm back in my body. The plan worked." And then Pharaoh's guards like, "We're here to end fun time."
yeah. And they Well, it gets pretty brutal what they do.
Yeah, it gets dark.
It gets dark in a hurry because her soul is 86'd out.
Yeah, it gets ripped out of her body, probably pretty painfully.
Probably. That's like imagine getting thrown out of a bar. It's pretty much the same thing.
I suppose.
Like you see in cartoons or what, and stay out.
Oh, that kind of okay.
Yeah. Not where they politely ask you to leave.
Bartender with his arm around your shoulder. Come on, it's time for you to get out of here. Okay. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I get it. Okay.
No, it's not one of those. It's like you see in the cartoons where you could, pick up a human being and
Yeet them out the window.
pretty much, yeah. But so yeah, she's gone again, and Emotep and all of his guards, or his followers
His priests.
his priests are arrested and embalmed alive.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
That's how they said it in the movie.
Yeah. They're mummified alive,
Oh,
or at least gone through the process.
yeah, that's right. They're mummified alive. Which, yikes.
Yeah. They get their tongues cut out, then they start getting other things cut out and wrapped up in gauze, and not to go
Mm.
through the whole mummification processes, but if you're listening to this, odds are you've seen the movie and you know what it's like.
Yep. But they saved the worst curse ever for Emotep,
Yes.
and they curse him with that great curse.
With that great curse.
It's a great curse.
I don't understand Egyptian curses.
So
But-
I don't understand this curse. They're like, it is like the coup de grace of all curses. It's like top tier, almost like forbidden curse, if you will. Like
Yeah.
the high, and so they're gonna curse this guy with it.
Yes.
It reminds me of something that a curse that you would see in an Ernest movie.
Okay.
It reminded me a bit of Ernest Scared Stupid. So he is cursed with this whole thing, but if this and this are accomplished, he becomes the immortal ruler of Earth, and all humanity is doomed. Like what?
It's because the curse, the original start of it, of what he gets put through, and then I can only assume torturous hell that he's in during these whole 3,000 years. If it gets disrupted and he is able to be free again, it's kind of like here we're sorry, and this is on you for breaking this curse.
Maybe it's like a balance thing. Like there has to be
Yeah.
a-
He's I
a-
mean,
ups, that, like with the amount of evil and pain that there is for him. Should the wrong thing happen, there has to be an equal good that can happen for him,
something like that. Balance.
like the Force.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't seem that we're gonna curse this guy with this thing, and if someone does the wrong thing, then he's gonna get resurrected and become the immortal undead ruler of Earth, and all humanity will be destroyed.
I mean, they did cut out his tongue, wrap him in gauze, throw him in a sarcophagus with a bunch of scarab beetles.
That ate him alive slowly.
Yeah. And then cursed him on top of that. So after that, he went somewhere and was presumably tortured.
So we fast forward to 1923, and it's a standoff in the desert.
Yes. With the Foreign Legion,
I was gonna say the Magi and the French.
the French Foreign Legion.
Yes. It does not go well for the French. They are overtaken pretty quickly.
Yeah, they are.
But we are introduced to our main character, Brendan Fraser, who plays Rick.
Rick O'Connell.
Why, for some reason, I thought you were going to say Rickopotamus. I don't know why.
That's not his name.
No, it's not. And his trusty sidekick. Well, I don't know if trusty's the word.
His smarmy sidekick.
Yeah, Benny.
Benny.
We hardly knew ye.
No, we get to know Benny pretty well.
Yeah, we do. But he runs. Benny runs but even before the shooting starts.
Yeah, they're kind of hunkered down, and Rick's yelling at them to stand their ground. And Benny's like, "Nope, I'm out of here." And
Yeah,
he drops
first
his
he's
rifle and starts running.
First, he's like, "Your courage gives me strength." And then he decides that strength doesn't last very long.
Nope.
But the French
He is
are
out.
overtaken pretty quick because the Magi also have guns and they're on horseback.
Yes, and they have a mission that they are dead set on staying with.
Yes. And then, yeah, so Rick runs away, runs back into Benny, tells Benny to run because he's being followed.
I was gonna say the Magi feel like the order from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade that's protecting the Grail.
A little bit, yeah. I haven't seen The Last Crusade since I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so yeah, he tells Benny to haul.
Yeah, and Benny takes off.
Yeah, I was looking for another word there. I guess I didn't need to. Yeah. And Benny takes off and goes in a door, closes it on Rick. Don't you
He
close that
does.
door, Benny. Benny, don't you close that door. What are you doing? Benny's a
And
coward
Benny's
and a
like,
traitor.
"Sorry, dude."
He didn't even say sorry. Benny's not sorry.
No, he's not.
I don't
He
think
might
Benny's
be a
been.
little bit in his eyes.
Benny hasn't been sorry once this whole movie. Spoilers.
Well,
You're not going to like Benny.
but you're gonna like not liking Benny.
That is true. You might actually like Benny. Actually, you're probably going to like Benny. Now that I think about it, yeah, we like Benny.
He grows on you.
You like him in an I don't like him kind of way.
Spoiler alert. Benny's not just gone,
Yeah, he comes back. Spoilers.
but Rick's about to get shot down.
Yeah, no, Rick is in a pretty not good situation for him. And then the sand does a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah, the Magi are like, "Oh no, we're out of here."
Yeah, the Magi leave and Rick's like, what was that all about? And then the sand does a bunch of weird stuff and he's like, "Oh no."
And then there's a big face in the sand, and he's just like, "No."
Yeah, so he nopes out of there.
Yeah, Nope's out of there pretty fast.
And then the Magi are watching him, and one of the Magi turns to the head Magi and goes, "Hey, are we gonna kill that guy?" And he's like, "Nah, the desert will kill him."
Yeah,
Spoilers, it doesn't.
true. And he's saying this in probably Egyptian.
I thought it
Does he
was
get the subtitles?
Armenian.
No idea.
Okay.
But fun fact,
Yes.
we see it's Ardith Bay, the head of the Magi with the long hair and the two tattoos under his eyes. They show him a couple times standing up on a hill or sitting up on his horse up on a hill and says something. He says the same phrase each time. It's just translated differently.
So nobody actually studied Egyptian or
Or he
or
just couldn't
maybe
or he just
Armenian
couldn't
or
get it. Armenian.
omelette du fromage.
I was gonna say it's very much like Joey from Friends trying to learn French.
You think this man is speaking French?
But yeah, there's like 3 or 4 times where they show him up on the up on the hill. He says the same phrase and it's translated completely different.
Good catch on that because I didn't get there with it. So we cut to 3 years later in Cairo. Cairo's in Egypt.
It is in Egypt.
Spoilers. Movie takes place in Egypt.
Yep, Hamanatra was there too.
Who?
The City of the Dead.
And we cut to a lady putting books away in a library. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Her name's Evelyn. They're gonna call her Evie through the rest of the movie.
Yes. Everybody calls her Evie in the movie except Rick, who will call her Evelyn.
Yes, and that is to distinguish the differentiation of their relationship.
Yes.
Everybody else. Spoilers. But yeah, she tries to get fancy and put a book away, and she does a clever little balancing act on a ladder before knocking over every single bookshelf.
Yeah,
And
she does.
And then we get to see Eric Avari returning.
Okay, fun fact, since you're moving past it.
Okay.
This stunt with the bookshelves was done in one take. This was their first take because if they had to do it again, it would be a complete day to set everything up again and do the take again. So you've got the stunt woman up on the ladder. They're filming that, and as she falls into the bookshelf and the books start going and the camera starts panning around, the stunt double on the ground now rolls out of the way, and Evelyn rolls into the right spot, and then after the last bookshelf falls, she pops up, and it was very, very well planned out and timed, and needed to be done in one shot. Otherwise, they would have to put everything back up.
This is a fun fact. I did not know this. But yes, then the curator of the library comes out, and it is played by none other than Eric Avari, who he was in something earlier in the podcast, but he's
We've seen him before
We've seen him
somewhere.
before. I don't remember which we've done a few movies now, Marsh.
I know we have. Trying to see if I can find the movie really quick. Oh,
What?
it was in McHale's Navy.
Okay. If you gave me 100 guesses, I wouldn't have gotten there.
He was uncredited, but he was the European leader.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in Mr. Deeds. He he played Nicodemus in The Chosen, which great series if you want
He
to
was
check
in
that
he was
out.
in Stargate.
He
Lot of
shows up,
different
he
things.
pops up all over the place, and you're always happy to see him.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, the curator scolds Evelyn pretty good and tells her that
yeah,
she's going to clean up the mess.
yeah. He's comparing her to the other plagues of he's comparing her to the plagues of Egypt, or at least that she's worse than the plagues of Egypt.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's yeah. And so she
compared to
leaves.
you, the other plagues were a joy. As leave the exact quote.
Wow. Yeah, but then she leaves and ends up in an artifact room.
Yeah, she hears something.
Okay. And it's her
And
brother.
yeah, during this interaction too, we learn that she's there because her father was an Egyptian, or was a um, Egyptologist, an Egyptologist.
You should have wrote it down.
I know the word, I just can't pronounce it. Apparently,
Keep trying though. And
Egyptologist.
see, you would think that I would cut that down so we only have the correct pronunciation.
But you're not gonna.
No. Because it's funnier if I don't.
Oh, but yes, we learned that her father was an Egyptologist who donated to this museum. So that's why the curator keeps her around.
Uh, Nepotism. No, no, I don't think. Is that?
I mean, he
Yeah.
doesn't want her there. It's a favor to her father,
Yeah, no, that would qualify as nepotism.
I suppose. Yeah,
Nepotism by proxy?
Eh. But she's
Yeah,
also
we're
really good at what she does.
knocking
She's
over bookshelves.
just a little clumsy sometimes.
And so we meet her brother who decides it's funny to hide out in a sarcophagus and
Desecrate a corpse.
yes, clearly he's not worried about any Egyptian curses.
No, no, he's not. He flings this thing up to scare her, and then he pops up and starts laughing.
Is he drunk?
Yes,
Okay.
not very, but drunk.
He's a big drinker. Or not a big drinker. But
He
he
enjoys
wants
himself some booze.
yeah. But anyway, he thinks he found something artifactual wise. And so he presents it to her because she is the actual Egyptologist.
Like I said, she does know what she's doing.
She does know what she's doing, and so she messes with this little thingy and uncovers a map.
Little puzzle box opens up like a flower,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
there's a map inside.
yes, and so she takes the map to the curator, and
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh my goodness, wow, this is great!" And then lights it on fire.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, Evie's like, yeah, I really think you found something, Jonathan. Let's go talk to the curator of the museum, and he's impressed. He's like, this is cool.
And
But
then
yeah,
he lights it on fire
he does.
on purpose.
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
Yeah, you can as Jonathan and Evie are talking, you can see him kind of lean over to the candle a little bit, get the corner up to it. He's like,
Yes. And
"Oh, it's on fire!" And then he throws it in front of his desk to give a little more time to burn.
yes. And they put it out, and they look at it, and he's like, Jonathan chimes in with, "You burnt the part of that shows the city of the dead."
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh darn."
Well, it's for the best because people have died trying to find this place, and it's not worth a fool's errand to try to find it.
Yes.
Good day.
And speaking of fools, apparently they catch wind of a fool who knows how to get there.
Well, Jonathan stole it from him.
That's right. So they're going, oh, let's try to, yeah, who we stole it off of. So they go up to the jail, and we meet a very angry Rick,
Yes.
who's in jail,
Yep.
and trying to get Evie to let him out of jail unsuccessfully.
Yeah, yeah, she's there asking him questions, and he's just like, "Get me out of here."
Yeah,
It's like, you really want to know where the city of the dead is? Because I can get you there. Just get me out of here.
right, because it's all in his brain.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the map. I know where it is
Doesn't work.
because I was actually there.
Yes, they take him to be hanged.
Yep, and she starts trying to bargain with the warden to buy his freedom, basically. They
Right.
never say exactly why he's in the jail. Um, the warden mentions that when he got in there, he just said he was looking for a good time, and apparently he had a really good time.
Yeah. Yeah, and so
Which
what well what
I was gonna say, which maybe he flirted with the wrong person, like a high up's wife or something.
maybe, but she starts bartering with the, I guess, warden, you said?
Yes, yes, the
Oh,
warden of the jail.
and she offers up to 500 pounds to spare his life,
Yes.
which I'm like, that's it. But I looked it up, and today 500 pounds would be worth 38.6 thousand pounds. That's the equivalency rate.
It's like a car.
Almost.
It's like half a car.
That depends
Ugh.
on the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a lot of money, and he's not he doesn't even budget that.
No, he's like, I would pay that much just to watch him hang.
Yeah. And then they well they drop the gallows and he hangs
Yep.
and his neck doesn't break.
The warden's like, oh no, now we have to watch him suffocate.
Yeah. And so while he's suffocating, she's still bartering with him.
Right. Yeah,
And
she throws out the piece of information that he knows where Hominoptera is.
right. And then he'll they'll give him, if they cut him down, they'll give him 10% and he says 50 and she says 20 and he says
I
40?
think it's 15,
No,
40, then 20, 20
no,
or 30.
30 and then he's like 25 and she goes deal and he goes wait a minute. So he's
Yeah.
not very bright.
No, and he's overzealous.
Yeah.
But apparently still a man of his word because he said deal, so
Yeah. So they shoot him down.
yeah. Yeah. Not so fun fact.
Go ahead.
Do you know it?
Is it about Brendan Fraser during the hanging scene?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How he lost consciousness and had to be revived after it because they did the stunt wrong.
Yeah, very similar to Marty McFly in Back to the Future 3
Yeah. Yeah.
or Mel Gibson in Maverick.
Yeah. Yeah. They can't get that hanging thing to look right without actually hanging people.
Yeah. So we're going to do this hanging scene. Have you ever done this successfully? No. All right. Let's
It's
do it
okay. We got the
anyway.
medical team standing by.
Yeah. So his whole face and whatnot was not acting. He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, from what I've heard after the fact, though, these mummy movies were actually very devastating to Brendan Fraser
Yeah.
as far as physical.
Oh,
Uh,
he'd put a lot into him.
yeah, and so he suffered um, quite a few injuries and long term struggles after it because of the physical demand. Anyway, on a happier note, I guess we cut to the docks where they are all meeting up to go onto the boat to go to Harmonutra.
Hominoptera.
That was close. And so, yeah, they all meet there. They're getting on, and the warden shows up to protect his investment.
Yeah. Oh, and Evie's lamenting that he might not, that Rick might not even show up. How they know not going to get swindled, because he's a vile, beastly man, and then he shows up all clean cut again, like he did at the first scene we
Yeah.
saw him in.
And she is taken aback by this and maybe a little bit smitten.
Yeah. So we've got our party of 4.
Yeah, so we got our party of 4. Not to be confused with Party of 5.
I was just gonna say that.
Great TV show.
Mm, I would not know. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I wouldn't really know either. I watched it when I was like 8,
For Jennifer Love Hewitt.
pretty much. So we're on the boat,
We are on the boat.
and we see a bunch of other men in darkened clothing paddling out to the boat. And then we are on the boat, and we see a poker game going, and Jonathan talks a lot.
Yes, Jonathan does talk a lot. He's a chatty folk.
He is. He's very friendly and chatty, and maybe talks more than he should.
Yes, he definitely does. Because he's
And
playing poker with a few Americans.
he is. And Rick is invited to join the poker game, and he says he doesn't gamble with his money, only his life.
Yes.
And they make a wager that the Americans will get to the city of the dead before Rick, and they put $500 on it.
And Rick's like, "How do you know we're going to the city of the dead?"
And that's how we find out that Jonathan talks a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. We also find out because Rick asks him how he's so sure that he's going to get there. And the Americans are like, "Well, we've got us a fella that's already been there." And before Jonathan can say, "Well, we have one too," Rick hits him with his duffel bag.
Yes. And then we, let's see.
Rick runs into this man that's been there before.
Right. But, let's see. But from there, we go to Rick, because we just glossed over the part where Evie's, like, sitting there reading a book. Evie. She's Evie, not Evie. Evie is sitting there reading a book. And, yeah, Rick approaches her and decides that's where he's going to load up all of his guns. And opens up his arsenal in front of her and starts loading up his pockets. Well, holsters. Pockets.
I mean, they're gun pockets.
They are pockets for guns. And we find out that she is looking specifically for the Book of Amun-Ra.
Yes, the
Which
Golden
is
Book of Amun-Ra.
the golden, yes. And that's when Benny shows up. She leaves to go get ready for bed, I guess. And then Rick notices someone lurking, and that's when he finds Benny. He throws Benny overboard.
Yeah. There's a brief exchange about how he's planning to. It's like, so what's the plan, Benny? You gonna leave him in the desert? You get your money and leave the Americans in the desert? Like, no, unfortunately not. They're not gonna pay me till after, so I have to take them all away again.
Yeah. Benny's not a nice guy,
No,
nor is he particularly honest.
no. They laugh a little bit, and then he says goodbye, Benny, and throws him
overboard.
off the boat.
But then at this point, Rick notices a series of wet footprints on the deck.
That he does, because
And then
he's a fighter with perception.
yes. And then we cut to Evie getting ready. This is going to throw me off every time.
Because it's Evelyn.
Because it's Evelyn.
Yeah,
And
Evie.
so I have a niece named Evelyn, and we call her Evie.
I was gonna say it's like calling William Bill.
So a guy sneaks into her room and wants the key, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because she has not pieced together that the thing holding the map was also a key.
No, yeah, she just thinks it's a little puzzle box.
Right. But Rick already knew what's going on, so Rick busts in there.
And just starts shooting.
And just basically starts shooting and lights the boat on fire.
I mean,
he doesn't do it intentionally.
No, not intentionally. He's indirectly responsible for it.
Yeah, the boat accidentally gets lit on fire. I made it seem like he walked in there, shot a bunch of people, and then lit the boat on fire.
It's like, oh, look, a lantern. Fire everywhere.
Well, you never know. The chaos of a boat being on fire might also help you out.
True.
So it's time to abandon ship. And he throws Evie overboard.
Yeah, finds out if she can swim first.
Yes, at least he's nice that way.
Yeah, can you swim? Yeah. Okay, good. Bye.
She says, when the situation requires it, and he goes, trust me, it requires it, and throws her over.
Yeah, and the warden shows up too.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, what do we do? What do we do? He's like, you stay here, I'll go get help.
And the warden's like, that sounds like a great idea.
Yep, and he grabs his bag of weapons and jumps over.
Yep. And then we get Jonathan is like the last one to leave because he stays back and gets the key.
Yeah, he goes to check on Evie to make sure she's getting out, and he sees the guy on fire.
Oh yeah, that's right. The guy gets lit on fire. But he gets the key, and then there's a guy next to him that the Americans just turn and fill him with holes, and they're laughing hysterically while they do it.
Americans with guns.
Right, yeah, that's a comment that Jonathan makes. It's like, oh, Americans.
Yeah, but this is when he gets the key, because the guy on fire got the key from him, got the key before him in the room, so he just took off.
Yeah.
And then the guy who's getting shot was that same guy, and he picks his pocket as he's kind of falling into him and over the boat.
Right, Jonathan is a pickpocket. We learned early on.
Yeah, he's pretty good at. Well, I mean, he got it from Rick, and now we got it from.
But anyway, the boat basically burns down. Everyone bails, and then they all go to shore, and we see Benny again, and Benny makes fun of Rick.
Because he's got all the horses.
Yeah, and Rick's like, but too bad you're on the wrong side of the river.
Yes, which is unfortunate.
Which deflates Benny a little bit. And then we cut to them buying camels.
We do. They're at the. I don't know if it's a full town or just kind of a settlement, but
And,
they're picking up camels and provisions.
and was it Jonathan haggling with him, or is it Warden haggling? Someone's trying to haggle with the camel guy. I can't remember if it's Jonathan or Warden. And Rick shows up. He's like, just pay him.
Jonathan.
It's Jonathan. Because then he makes the comment about Evie, which isn't very nice. And they get the 4 camels, and then we get a desert montage.
Mm-hmm. Evie's got a
them
new set of clothes.
Yep, and they're traveling to Ramanuptra. But it's nighttime, and people are falling asleep on Camelback.
Yeah, well, they got the little seats. They're kind of they're like little bucket seats on the Camelback, so they're kind of propped up.
Yeah,
but they're not stopping. They got to keep going.
Right, they're on a race. And
they've got $500 waiting on us.
$500 on the line, and so we get to Dave. Oh, we see the main Magi guy. He's just kind of observing stuff.
He says his line, and it's translated differently.
Yes,
it's like this one's strong.
Omelette du fromage. That's from Dexter's Laboratory, for those of you listening that don't get the reference, where there's an episode where Dexter is trying to learn French, but his CD skips, and so it just says omelette du fromage all night, and then he wakes up the next day, and that is all he can say.
Omelette du fromage, omelette du fromage, omelette du fromage.
Which I don't know why the first thing on the tape was cheese omelet, but it was.
Because it's funny.
Yeah, it was. But they run into Benny because they're just kind of sitting there, and everyone's like, "What are we doing?" And Rick's like, "We're about to be shown the way to Hamanoptera."
Yeah, Benny, the Americans, and all their workers.
Yeah,
because they've got like 30 guys with them.
Yeah, they got a whole team.
They got expendables.
Yep. But as soon as the sun crests the horizon,
and I say that because we need people in this movie to die.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the gist of it. But yes, the sun crests the horizon, and it shows the path to the city, and it looks really, really cool.
Yes, it does. It looks really cool. It kind of comes out of nowhere of the horizon.
Yep. And then they're off to the races.
Yeah, and so Benny makes fun of Rick's camel at one point. He's like, "Nice camel," and I'm like, "You're riding a camel too, Benny. It's not like you're on a horse or something different. You're also on a camel."
And there's nothing wrong with Rick's camel.
There's not.
It's
now, if you were saying horses were better and you were on a horse, like, yeah, your camel's gonna be stupid and lose this race. Fine, but you're also on a camel.
Yeah. It's not like there's anything like off about his camel where you look at his camel and you're like, you got ripped off on your camel, dude.
Yeah. No, it's just
it's a standard camel. But yeah, they see the path to the Hamanoptera, and it is every man for himself, and it is a race.
Yep. The Americans tell Benny that the part of that money is his if he helps them win it.
Right. And we've kind of glossed over all the comedic tones in this movie, or all the slapstick comedic tones in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of slapstick.
There is a lot of There's more slapstick than I remember there being, because, they got their little crop whips.
Yeah.
Crops. Riding crops. That's what it is. And they're, hitting the camels.
Yeah.
And Rick and Benny are neck and neck, and Benny just starts smacking Rick with the crop.
He does. But then Rick grabs Benny by the collar and tosses him off his camel.
Benny had it coming.
He did.
Yeah, but Evie wins the race.
Yes. Yeah, she wins the race. Her camel kind of takes off and wins it for them.
Yep. And now we cut to them all preparing for their journey into the tomb.
Yes. And we've got the American team setting up somewhere else, and Evie's plotting the best course from what she knows of the city.
Yes.
And then she seems to know exactly where she's going.
Yeah, she does.
Which one of the Americans questions, and then their Egyptologist guy is like, she's a woman, what does she know? Let's dig here, because I say so. Ha ha ha.
Yes, and that's the one played by Jumanji.
Yes, that's the Egyptologist who's played by the dad from Jumanji.
No, he played the guy with the big gun in Jumanji.
Yeah, he also played his dad.
I know, that was the joke. Apparently it wasn't funny.
I wasn't sure if you knew.
It took me longer than I'm proud of to figure that out, but they are now down in the tomb, and they run into the Americans, and they argue for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Evie's led them to the right spot. The Americans found the spot too, and now they're fighting over it.
Yeah, but Evie has a plan.
Yes, she realizes there's a space underneath.
Yeah, so they go underneath, and they're planning to dig up.
Yeah. So she lets the Americans have the spot, and her plans to dig up and get the book from underneath.
Not a bad plan.
No, no, but these bricks are
Great
huge.
plan. It might actually not be a good plan.
It's a plan.
It's a plan, but
Are we gonna cave it in? I don't know.
we'll see.
I'm a historian, not an architect.
Right, right. But then they ask where their friend is, implying the warden, I guess, or they don't
Yeah,
think they ever did they ever give him a name?
he's just the warden. But yeah, he
Okay.
wanders off
He wanders off, and now he's robbing his own treasure.
because that's what you should do. Wander off in a place called the City of the Dead.
Hope everybody's dead.
Maybe.
But the Americans find a sarcophagus, and they're getting ready to open it. And
No.
no,
Um. Actually, no. The Americans find a panel at the base of the statue of Anubis.
okay,
Um.
that was close. I was taking notes, so I was looking down too, so I kind of missed it.
Okay.
But yeah, but then Jumanji is like, hey, we should let the hired hands open it because Seti
Yeah.
is the guy who made the City of the Dead.
Hmm.
He he thought booby traps were funny.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
And we're named characters. So
right, we're kind of essential to the story, so we should have the guys who we didn't give credit to. We should make them open it, and they do, and then they're sprayed with acid and they melt.
yeah, the one American that doesn't seem too happy about it. He's like, okay, I wanted to do the thing, but whatever. But yeah, they get hit with salt acid,
Salt acid.
and it's not a good time.
No, but the American is very, very glad that he did not open it.
Yes, he is.
But we can cut back to the friend robbing the jewels of scarab beetles,
Yep,
which scarab beetles live inside the jewels apparently,
these ones.
and he lets one out by being greedy,
Yep,
and he gets beetled.
he does get beetled.
And
Crawls
what getting beetled means
it.
is the beetle climbs into his shoe and then goes under his skin through his leg and climbs up and eventually goes into his brain and starts eating.
not 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 fun at all. In fact, horrifying
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
because this beetle is pretty big.
Yeah, it's a big beetle.
Now the effect was okay.
Wasn't bad.
No.
There were a couple places where you could see it didn't quite line up. Where he's like clawing at his chest kind of,
Yeah.
and you could see his hands kind of go through the lump. But
Uh,
overall, a good effect still holds up fairly well. But yeah, he gets beetled. And then we cut back to Rick, Evan, John. That's what I'm calling them.
Rick, Evan, John.
Yeah. Rick, Evelyn, and Jonathan.
Yes. Jonathan's
They're
playing
going
golf.
Yep. They're going over the map, and then they hear their friend scream and run by being beetled. And they see him, he's like running and clawing at his head, and then goes headfirst into a wall and dies.
Actually, they have found the sarcophagus already.
Did they find the sarcophagus already?
That's why he wrote sarcophagus, probably, because they
Oh.
were about to put the key on it when they heard the screaming.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yes, sir. They did do that.
Yeah.
And
So
then
well,
and then they run after, and Jonathan grabs the key and follows.
right, because when Evie uses it's got the same star pattern as the puzzle box, so she grabs it from Jonathan. And he's like, "Hey, it's mine," which he actually stole from Rick, so it's technically Rick's, but
It's close enough.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, then they see the guy being beetled, and he runs headfirst into a wall and falls over and dies.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, he's toast. He's beetle food. Then we cut to the campfire, and our heroes are talking about the misfortune of the Americans.
Yes, where some of their workers were
Melted,
melted with acid,
and then
pressurized salt acid.
yep, and Jonathan is going through their friend's stuff
He is.
and finds a bottle of 12-year-old Glenlivet.
They build up the tension, like, "Oh, he hurt himself. It's a beetle. Get him!" But no, it's just booze.
Yeah, there's a broken bottle.
Yeah,
That's
Not
what it
completely
said.
broken. It's broken at the top
Yeah,
with the cork haphazardly shoved in it.
yeah. And Glenlivet is Scotch, and I don't much care for it.
Like Glenn McKenna?
Glen McKenna is not a real Scotch.
I know.
I like Glenfiddich.
A lot of Glens making scotch.
Well, there's two Glens making Scotch in Ireland, and so
Okay.
there's actually in certain places people in Ireland either drink Glenlivet or Glenfiddich, and they get very upset about which one you drink.
A
And
big
so
scotch guy.
that's why in How I Met Your Mother they did Glen McKenna to kind of play on the Glenfiddich Glenlivet rivalry, so to speak,
Got it.
and they didn't want to choose sides.
I get that.
Anyway, and then the Magi shows up.
Yeah, they've had enough of those guys just hanging around all day.
Yeah, and they attack and kill some more help hired hands.
Yeah, they do. They got a
And then
beeline on the hired hands.
yeah, and then main Magi is like, enough. We will shed no more blood, but you have 1 day to leave or you will die. I was like, what, did you run out of hired hands to kill? We can't kill the main characters. Like he decided, was he counting? Hold on, we got 7. That's enough.
Maybe, but they were losing people too. The Americans are pretty good shots.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, we're not just gonna kill everybody here. You can leave. Just get the heck out of here.
you got a day to get out of here, and then the Americans go to Rick and they're like, hey, how about at night we're on the same side.
Yeah, we could camp together at night, right? Safety numbers.
Yeah, they agree on that. Did they agree on that? I don't know.
Um, this first night it doesn't feel like so
Right,
because they're still at their little campfire with Jonathan and Rick and Evie practicing fighting.
right.
And there's no Americans around, so I don't think they partner up that night.
No, it doesn't look like it. But yeah, Jonathan's passed out, and Rick and Evie are boxing.
Yep,
Well, he's teaching her how to box, and she's hammered.
she is. She cannot handle her alcohol.
Yes, she is quite intoxicated. And then she gets a little flirty and flirty and falls asleep.
Yes, she's like, "I'm gonna kiss you now, Mr. O'Connell," and then she passes out.
Yes. Next morning, the Americans find a chest with a curse, and we learn the details of the Emotep curse and basically our plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they open the thing that was behind the salt pressurized wall thing. Um, learn about the curse. Some of the Americans are upset that it's just a book, and then they find the canopic jars at the bottom of the chest.
Yes, and then they're happy because gold.
Yes.
Lots of gold. But yeah, we basically learned that the chest is cursed, and whoever opens the chest will die.
Yeah. Yeah. Benny's not having it. He runs before they open the thing.
Benny's smart. Benny gets out of Dodge.
Well, he's heard the curse before. He's like, "Oh, this is the thing. This is why I didn't want to come back. I'm out."
Yep, I want nothing to do with this. And we cut to uh, our heroes. I guess I always refer to them as our heroes because they pretty much stay together. Spoilers.
Yeah.
They open up a sarcophagus with a mummy in it who's still juicy.
Yeah. They're like, "Let's find out who this guy was." It's like, oh, is it supposed to look like that? It's still juicy.
Yeah.
But Evie does her little investigating a little bit, and you can see she finds scratch marks on the inside of the sarcophagus lid. Like, oh, he was buried alive. Look.
Yeah. Which, yikes.
Yeah.
Not a good way to go.
No, not a good way to go. She also mentions that the inscriptions on the front of the sarcophagus were all shaved off.
So so that people couldn't release him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't name him. They wanted it to be left alone. So
Right. Okay, yeah, and then we cut back to the Americans who find the Book of the Dead and the treasure. And then we cut back to camp and they are going over the loot. And this night they are all camping together.
yes,
And
and Benny is right by the Rick at this point.
yeah. And then Evie steals the book from Jumanji and then because she realizes that they have the key for it
Yeah, she walks by, is like, "Oh, you need a key for that book."
and he's asleep.
Yeah, a little bit later. Earlier, she walks by and says he needs a key as he's trying to forcefully rip it open.
He's trying to be subtle about it, though.
Yeah. And I say rip it open, and if you haven't seen it, you don't know, but this book is more like metal book.
Yeah, it is, and
It's
it's yeah,
it's not it's not paper pages, it's not something you can rip open. It's it's latched with metal.
yeah, it is. And so you need the key, and she has the key, and she knows she has the key. So when he sleeps, she steals it and opens it.
Rick's like, that's stealing, you know.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, she opens it.
And then she starts reading from it.
Right. Well, and they realize, like, isn't this thing supposed to be gold? She's like,
Right.
yes.
So
Um,
she still thinks it's the Book of Ra,
no,
Amun Ra,
no,
or does she know it's the Book of the Dead?
she thinks it's the Book of the Dead
Okay,
because the
but it's
Book of
supposed to
Amun
be
Ra
the
is
book,
supposed to be gold.
right? But the Book of Amun Ra was supposed to be in that statue.
Yes, that's what the Bainbridge scholars had
Yes,
deduced.
right. But yes, she reads from it, and I don't like the way she reads hieroglyphics
Yeah,
because she's like gets up close and she's like touching it with her fingers, and it's like you're not. Do you read that way?
I feel little animal shapes, the
I'm not buying it.
hieroglyphics.
It's weird. But she reads it, and then Jumanji sits up and he goes, "Do not read from the book." And then we see Emotep is alive ish.
Yeah, he wakes up and he doesn't seem happy.
But
Juicy mummy.
yeah. But I mean, if you're pulled out of heck, wouldn't you be at least a little happy?
Eh, maybe.
And then we get locusts.
Yes. Yes, we do get locusts. Fun fact about locusts.
Yes.
There is a type of grasshopper which causes locusts. Um, Normal, green, docile grasshopper. And something happens in them that makes them go crazy and turn into locusts physically. It's like a metamorphosis type thing that happens. So they're not their own special breed. They're grasshoppers that change into these
Really?
ravenous, psychotic demon bugs. Yes.
And do locusts hurt you?
I mean, they will. They got little bitey things, teeth, pincers.
That's biting things are usually called teeth. I'm gonna chew my food with my bitey things. But then they all start running.
Yeah, because there's a swarm of locusts coming, and they book it towards the inside,
Exit. Yeah,
the exit, the exit of camp, the entrance of the dig
right.
site.
Well, then they start running in there, and things get a little weird inside the dig site.
Yes, we lose a bunch more of the hired help to the locust swarm. I don't know if they get.
Well, isn't it what Jonathan sitting there? Someone's sitting there because they part of the curse is the 10 plagues of Egypt will fall upon them up on the earth.
Yes. Jonathan's the exposition guy that goes over all the plagues as they
And,
happen.
and he's just kind of sitting there with covered in locusts, and he's like, "All right, locusts."
Oh, that was actually the Jumanji Egyptologist guy because he picked up his
That
book.
was
He picked up the book. He's like, "What have we done?"
oh
It's like,
yeah.
well, he started it, but
Yeah, because when she reads it, he sits up and goes, "Do not read from the book." I don't know if I mentioned that already.
you did.
Anyway,
Do
they're down there.
not seek the treasure.
We thought you was a toad.
That's a plague too.
Do not seek. So, I guess I missed some stuff because right now I have them all running out of the dig site because something happens.
They're down in the dig site trying to get away. And Mr. Burns, one of the Egyptologists, the guy with the glasses, he falls down and loses his glasses in a very Velma. Um,
Velma asks, "Okay, so I
yes,
didn't miss anything because I have it in my notes. They're all running, and glasses gets left behind."
yes, he loses his glasses. Someone steps on his glasses, so he's kind of out of luck.
Yeah, Mr. Burns, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I can't see without my glasses.
Yep, he mentions that on the boat. They like cut the deck. He's like, hey, because he's cleaning his glasses. Like, oh, I can't see the deck to cut it without my glasses, can I? Little foreshadowing there. Um, but um, but yeah, he's stumbling around looking for his glasses. He finds that they're on the ground broken, so he gets up and starts wandering, asking for help.
With a gun
Um,
out.
and because he's getting freaked out.
Which you're alone in a tomb in the city of the dead.
Yes, and Locust just swarmed.
Yeah,
Weird
I
stuff's
would
going
want
on.
I would want to go home too.
But good news for Mr. Burns, he's found. Bad news, it's
It's
by
by
Emotep.
Emotep. And even worse news is he's one of the ones that opened up the chest.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he's face to face with Emotep, and then we cut to Rick, Evie, and they're being
Jonathan.
chased. Jonathan, they're being chased by the Beatles.
Yeah. A bunch of scared beetles crawl out of the ground.
Not by the Beatles. The Beatles are nowhere in this movie.
No, they won't be around for a few more years.
Right. Couple
We're in
decades.
1929.
We're in 1926.
6. That's what I meant.
But yeah, so they jump over onto a rock, and Evie hops over onto a ledge, so the Beatles can't get to them.
Yep, they scurry across this little ramp
And then she
thing.
falls through a secret passageway, and she runs into Mr. Burns.
She does. And she's happy to run into, like, oh, thank goodness. Mr. Burns.
And
You
then
don't want to be
re-
alone here.
Yeah, and then we find out that he doesn't have eyes
Or a tongue.
or a tongue.
He is not in good shape.
No. And then we run into Emotep.
Yeah, he's there too.
Yeah. Who calls Evie a Noxunamun.
Yes. Yes. He is confused. I mean, he's
He
been
is-
dead for 3,000 years.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. We cut to the guys running away, and another hired hand trips and falls and is beetle food.
Yep. Yep. We gotta make sure we get all those hired hands out of here before.
Right, and we have to set up how bad the Beatles are, because they ate him real quick.
They did eat him pretty quick.
And then we run into the Magi, and we learn more about the curse, which I do like the storytelling in this, because they don't just give us the whole story at once. You know, they give us the gist of it. We kind of know what's going on. We kind of know the basics of the curse, and then we find out more details as it becomes important to the story,
Yeah.
instead of just having it all be told at once.
As they're running out of there, they see Rick sees Evie.
Yes.
He's like, "Oh, thank goodness! Get over here!" And he runs over to grab her, and then he turns and sees the mummy standing there, Emotep.
Yep.
To which Emotep roars at him. And fun fact, in an
Yeah.
unscripted line, Brendan Fraser roars back and then shoots him. The shooting was there, but he wasn't supposed to roar or yell.
But it's funny.
It is.
Yeah.
So he shoots him with a shotgun, and they all run out of there.
Yep.
And they meet the Magi on the roof.
Yep.
Not the roof.
And
Up
Rick's
top.
like, no, I got him. And the Magi's like, no, you didn't.
your shotgun's not gonna kill an immortal mummy.
And he's like, I told you, I got him. And the Magi's like, oh, I'll take care of it. We'll figure out how you guys get out of here.
Yeah, he's like, I warned you. You've doomed us all now.
Yep.
We got this.
Now-
Get the heck out of here.
And now we gotta go fix your mistake, so you leave and we'll take care of it. And then we cut to Benny, who's all alone.
Yes, Benny got left behind.
Yes. And he runs into Emotep. And he tries all the religions.
He does. He pulls out a little cross, starts praying, asking for God to save him, and then he pulls out like 6 more
Yeah.
necklaces with other religious symbols on them.
Right. And then he gets to the Star of David and starts speaking Hebrew.
Yep.
And Emotep's like, gasps and goes, the language of the slaves. I might have use for you.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to town, and Rick is packing and Evie is unpacking. Because
Yeah,
she's
Rick's
like, oh, we let him out. We gotta put him back.
I let him out. I gotta put him back.
Fair.
But yeah, he's just like, we're getting out of Egypt.
Yep.
Because they're at the fort in Cairo where everybody's staying at, and he's just trying to pack up all Evie's stuff.
Right. And then we go to the bar.
Yep.
Where we meet Captain Winston
Yay, Winston.
and the Americans. But Captain Winston is drunk and he's sick of wasting his life drinking.
Yes.
He wants to go on a mission that kills him.
Yeah, we find out that he was a pilot in the Great War.
Which would be World War One.
It would be World War One.
It was
And
called
he
the
is
Great War up until, I think, the 1950s.
something like that after World War II.
After World War II, yeah.
So they're cause like that was a pretty great war too.
Yeah, but they didn't want to call them the Great Wars.
Right, the Great War and the Second Great War. Ugh. Anyway, um, he's the last survivor of his regiment. All his other pilot buddies crashed in the desert and died.
Yep.
Heroes' deaths. He did not hit his Lieutenant Dan moment.
No, no. But we cut to Emotep and I Guy, Mr. Burns.
yeah. Benny's brought Emotep to see Mr. Burns.
Yeah, to have a little sit down.
Yeah, is like Prince Emotep is so happy to meet you. It's like I don't know how he sold it, but
He's very, very grateful for your eyes and your tongue.
yeah. Being he's just digging that knife in a bit. He's like, he didn't have to be so extra about it, but Benny's like, it's your fault. You opened the chest. You got the curse. Now he's got to finish the job.
Yeah, and he's like, but Emotep needs just a little bit more from you.
Yeah,
And that's when he turns him into jelly. I don't know.
It turns
Sucks
him
the
into
life out.
yeah, he gets all dehydrated and juiceless.
He takes his juice.
He looks all crispy, but yeah, we lose Mr. Burns.
Yes,
He
we do.
the first death that wasn't a nameless face.
Right. Yeah. Nameless face is the right order. Then we cut to the bar and the water's blood.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
they're all taking a shot, and then this is where Jonathan steps in to recount the Bible verses about the plagues
Yep.
and how the rivers the waters of Egypt are ran red if they were blood.
Yes, they do.
Um,
And then we cut to then they go up to confront Emotep.
yeah, because once they see what's going on, they're like, oh shoot, he's here.
Yeah. Yeah. So they gotta go find him.
Yeah, which is, I mean, kudos to them for going to look for the guy as opposed to just taking off.
I might have just taken off.
Yeah.
I didn't open anything. I am out of here. The Magi said they got it. They seem to know what they're doing. I gotta trust them.
Yeah, they know, right?
Yeah, we live far enough away to not be affected by this.
Yeah, America, right? You like America? Come on, you're coming with me.
Let's go. That's just anyway. But we learned that Emotep's afraid of cats.
Yes, yeah. He sees the cat. He takes off.
Yep. And now something we didn't touch on is during this whole time, Emotep is not actually a person.
No, he's still pretty mummy-ish.
He's very mummy-ish, and it's CGI,
Yes.
and it holds up still pretty well.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones.
I mean, you can tell it's not
You can tell there's some of the stretching stuff
right.
looks a little off. I mean, it's definitely not a character like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, where
Well,
or
Gollum was
or
real.
Gollum still stands up,
Dobson
Jar.
from Dobby Doobie
Oh yeah, from Harry Potter. I was gonna say Jar Jar Binks too, another all CG character from a movie. So
that holds up still. Yeah,
different variations. This one holds up
yeah,
pretty well.
it does.
Not the best. You can see
Mm,
definitely like, oh, that's 90s CGI, but
right, but I mean, I remember when it came out, being like, "What?"
yeah,
Isn't it funny how that works? Like when the new thing comes out, it looks. I mean, I remember being like, "Wow, you can't even tell. That's so great." Ah, ah. And now you're like, "Oh yeah, that is a little dated, isn't it?"
you're like, oh, it does stand out. Yeah, you can definitely tell
Yeah, it's funny how that works. As things get better, you realize how not good how much your brain fills in the blanks.
how not good.
No, I'm gonna stick with how much your brain fills in the blanks.
Okay.
Like because CGI had gotten so much better, your brain was like, "Whoa, you were impressed by it," and so your brain filled in the gaps
Yeah,
because it had nothing to compare it to that was better.
that makes sense.
And then we run into the curator, and we learn that he is also a magi, and they're part
Yeah.
of some big whole secret organization designated to keeping people from releasing Emotep.
Yeah,
Who
yeah. So the museum curator and the head of the Magi, Ardith Bay.
right? And so we glossed over this fact, but it was revealed very early on that the magi are actually descendants of the Pharaoh's royal guard.
Yes, yes. They are descended from this royal guard line. Um, And another thing we glossed over that we didn't touch on was when the drunken night at the fire. Um, Evie was explaining that Egypt's in her blood because her mother was Egyptian, her father was um, an English Egyptologist, and they met in Egypt, and that's why she's so into it.
And that's why she said it's in her blood.
Yeah, and she's um, basically been studying it all her life as well.
Yeah.
I mean, even Jonathan picks stuff up. He knows some things. He's not as into it as Evie, but I mean, he knows what Hominoptera was before it actually was called the City of the Dead. He didn't have to get explained a lot of things. So he's picked stuff up too, but he's just gone a different path.
Yeah. And then they're all in a
Also,
room. What?
I think the museum curator and the head of the Magi are father and son.
Is that touched on, or are you just guessing?
Just guessing. I mean, they look fairly similar. They're talking to each
They're
other. It could just
actors.
be. I know,
It's
but
such a- It could
look
be.
at them.
Yeah. So they're all in the same hotel room that everything's been kind of happening in, and they're chatting about what to do. And it's revealed that Evie, is has been chosen by Emotep to be the human sacrifice to revive or resurrect a Nux in a moon.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, he called me a Nox on the moon and he tried to kiss me. They're like, that's bad.
That's
Bad for
really
you.
bad. And so Rick's like, "Well, you're gonna stay here," and she's like, "No, I'm not." And so he just kind of picks her up and throws her over his shoulder, and she's like, "Jonathan," and Jonathan's like, "Sorry, he's a very large man."
Yeah, what do you expect me to do? He's bigger than me.
And it's so great how well it's played because he just casually picks her up, throws her over his shoulder, chucks her down on the bed in the room, and she's like trying to scramble to like get back out, and he's just casually walking and closes the door and locks it before she gets there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then and then he turns to one of the Americans and is like, "He doesn't come out of here. This door doesn't get unlocked, and nobody goes in. Deal?" And the guy's
It's
like,
like,
"Uh huh."
yeah. These two Americans are uh, Daniels and Henderson, and
And
their
they're
plan.
scared.
They're scared, but they need to find. At this point, they realize they need to find the Egyptologist, the fourth guy that opened the box, and get him there so they can all stay safe together,
Yes.
or attempt to stay safe together
And then we cut to Benny searching through stuff.
in the Egyptologist's place.
Yep. And Rick
He's just
finds him.
he's just pulling out drawers and dumping things. He's looking for anything he can that's worth of value,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, he's into riches. And then there's a scream from outside, and everyone runs to the window, and we see that Emotep has gotten another one.
Oh, you're glossing over stuff. Should say Rick shows up, does a great shot with a chair as Benny tries to run. He's like, "Oh shoot, it's you!"
Oh, I forgot that he throws the chair and hits him. And
Yeah, he
Jonathan's
just
like, "Nice shot."
yeah,
Or nice
mid
throw.
mid stride too. He just grabs his chair and then whips it at Benny. And he's like, "You came back from the desert with a new friend, didn't you?" He's like, "It's better to be at the devil's right side than in his path." So we find out for sure. I mean, we've seen it, but he lets O'Connell them know that yeah, he's working with Imhotep and they're all screwed.
Yeah. Because he's like, as long as I'm useful, I'm immune to anything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we find out he's not immune to Rick, who
Yeah.
holds him up to the ceiling fan and is like, what's the plan?" He's like, we get the book, we get your girl, and he resurrects his girlfriend into her body. That's all.
That's it. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Just let me down.
Which so
But-
like so you could almost look at it as this movie is like it's like a love story that doesn't work out.
yeah,
It's like a rom-com that doesn't go like if it's not if it weren't in the perspective of like they could have easily done the movie of Emotep
right, right. And it had Imhotep be the good guy.
and had Emotep be the good guy and
These guys just keep getting in his way to stop him from bringing back his love.
right and you change a few things, make Emotep maybe not evil, and you have a hit rom-com.
Yeah, a hit period piece rom com.
I mean, really, it wouldn't take much.
No, but I like the bit where he's holding up to the fan and is like, so what? It's like, what's the plan? He's like, oh come on, I don't know. And he pushes up higher, like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, yeah. Not many guts in that Benny.
No, no. But this is when we hear the scream. They get distracted. Benny gives
Benny
O'Connell a
runs.
yeah, he gives O'Connell a gut shot to get away and jumps out the window.
Yeah, but then we see that Imhotep has gotten another one of the Americans.
He got not the Americans. I mean, of the group, he got the Egyptologist, the guy they were looking for.
That's who the Jumanji.
Yes, Jumanji. They got Jumanji.
Yeah,
Who doesn't have a name except Egyptologist.
Jumanji.
Right. So, um,
Jumanji
Imhotep's got
works with the. Yeah, it
yeah,
works.
Imhotep's got two of them now, and Henderson and Daniels are still in the room doing their thing.
Henderson leaves to go get a drink.
Daniels leaves. Henderson stays.
Ah, the 50-50 shot. I didn't write down which one it was. So Henderson leaves to go get a drink.
No, Henderson stays. Daniels leaves.
Henderson's the one twirling his gun.
Yes, and points it at the Canobic jar.
Daniels is an idiot. Henderson is an idiot.
But after this point, Imhotep Sand shows up.
Yeah, when can he turn himself? He can turn himself into sand.
Yeah, he's got powers.
Apparently, ones that we don't know about or didn't know about. So yeah,
Yeah.
he gets Henderson.
Another great use of effects that you don't actually see because it's the shadow of Henderson getting lifted in the air, getting juiced, and then tossed to the ground.
He's getting dehumidified, dehydrated.
Yeah, I like that.
He's getting dehydrated. I'm gonna put these water balloons in the dehydrator.
But yeah, Henderson gets taken out. Imhotep's almost at full power now.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Looking pretty good.
A lot less CG now.
Yeah, and then he turns into sand and goes through the keyhole into Evie's room and gives her a kiss.
Yeah,
And that's where Rick busts in with a cat.
yeah, yep. Rick busts in with the cat. Imhotep gets scared because the cats are the defenders of the underworld, which is what we learned earlier. And Imhotep leaves.
Yes, and then they're on the move.
At this point,
Because-
yeah, they head back to the museum.
Right. We learn more about the legend.
Yeah, let's see. There's 4 of them now
Right.
headed to the museum where they
Yeah,
meet
and
up
then-
with the museum curator and the head magi.
Right. And then we start hearing chanting
Yeah,
with the Imhotep zombies.
Imhotep, Imhotep. They look out the
But-
window and they see.
The reason they're there is to figure out where the Book of the Dead was supposed to be, because that is
Right.
where they believe the Book of Amun-Ra actually is.
Yes. Evie has an idea. She says that the Bainbridge scholars must have got it mixed up because the Book of the Dead was at the base of Anubis. So the other one must be. And she's looking at this big stone tablet while the
zombies are on their way.
zombies are on their way. Jonathan decides to go get the car started up.
Yep. Great. I love this bit where he gets surrounded by zombies and they're coming after him, and he's just like, and like acts like one of the zombies, and the zombie looks at him and is like,
Yeah, he just starts chanting too. Imhotep.
You get the zombie that like investigates him though. That was great, and clearly an acting choice where he like looks at him and kind of gives him a nod of approval, and then goes back to what he was doing.
Like, okay, this works.
Yeah, everything checks out here. But yeah, then he runs and gets the car started up.
They realize the book is under the statue of Horus.
That's what it was.
So they just got to get back to the city of the dead.
Yep. And so they all run, get in the car, and they take off. And then they start. Their path is blocked by zombies. Jonathan is scared.
Yeah, he's not sure exactly what to do, and Rick pulls out the "I'm an American" card
and punches the gas, and they start running over zombies.
Yep, brute force.
And eventually get slowed down and overtaken by zombies, but they jump down into the sewer. But museum curator fights off zombies and gets a little bit of bloodlust, and his bloodlust gets him killed.
Yeah, but before that happens too, Daniels gets pulled out of the car.
That's right. I thought he fell out of the car.
The one guy they really should be protecting.
They did not do a good job protecting.
No, they did not.
Because I don't even think they noticed that he got pulled out.
They did not.
They never mention it. They never mention it at all the rest of the movie. Like even when they get to like safety where they get a break from the chaos, they're never like,
What
"Where's
happened to that
Daniels?
guy?
What
They
happened?
just,
What happened to the last guy that was needed to complete the breaking the curse?"
I mean, clearly he got absorbed, so we just don't talk about it because we feel bad that we screwed up that part.
Whoops. But yes,
Whoopsies.
so the rest of them get away, and museum curator is slashing zombies while they escape down into this. It's a sewer system, right?
Yeah, they escape into the sewers.
Yeah. And I'm
This is
sorry, curator had a plenty opportunity to get down there and join him,
so
but he was killing.
Yeah, he was
It,
killing. But
it's his blood.
this is after Evie goes with Imhotep voluntarily. Imhotep shows up after the car has crashed,
That's right. And
and
he says he basically calls her a Noxinamun and
yeah,
says, "Take my hand and I will spare their lives."
yeah, and she's like, "You better hurry up and find the things and come get me because if I become a mummy, I'm coming after you first, Rick."
Yes. And then they
So
get surrounded by.
she voluntarily goes, and then you can tell Imhotep was lying, and the zombies start going after our heroes.
Well, he just said that he wouldn't kill them.
True, he did.
He is going to spare their lives. His zombies.
Yeah. Um, but yeah. So the museum curator buys them time to get out of there.
Yeah, and then his bloodlust gets him killed.
Yes.
Yeah, no, if I look at my notes. So we got to the
So
next day. It is daytime now.
yeah, they stayed in the sewer for a while, came out, got the car, and they are headed to the airfield.
Right. Rachel saw this and she goes, "Well, this is just weird because you got a guy sitting under an umbrella in the middle of the desert listening to a record."
That's a Brit for you.
I guess. But
In the 1920s.
yeah. But Rick basically says, "Hey, I got a mission for you, and you're probably not going to live through it." And then Winston's like, "Huzzah!
It's
Just
like,
what
you
I've
think
always
so?
wanted."
It might kill me. Let's do it.
And so they get flying towards the city of the dead.
Yeah, they strap Jonathan to one wing. They strap the head magi Ardith Bay to the other wing. Rick gets in the gunner seat in the back, and Winston starts flying.
Yep. And then they see a big dust tornado, and
Winston's
Winston's
like,
like,
"I've never seen one so big."
"Yeah." Apparently, that's how Emotep travels.
Yeah, because when they really see the plane, Imhotep drops Benny and Evie on the ground,
Yep.
turns back from sand into, I guess, human
Person.
form,
Yeah.
person form.
And then sends up a tidal wave of sand.
Yeah. In the background, you see Evie hitting Benny. He's like, "Get off me," because they just kind of got dumped down.
Yeah. She doesn't like Benny.
No, she doesn't.
No. But then we get the big wall of sand chasing the plane, and you see Emotep's face in the sand, which that looked cool.
It was a very cool effect. I liked it because you see him lift his hands, the whole flat plains in front of him break and crack, and then the sand shoots up in the air. And it's just this wall of sand that looks awesome,
Yeah. And then you see his mouth like chomping after the plane.
like Pac-Man.
Yeah. Wah, 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 wah.
And it eats the plane.
He eats the
Planes
plane,
in
and
this.
then Evie kisses him to break his concentration.
Yep,
But the plane still explodes.
doesn't explode.
It crashes
It
and explodes.
it doesn't it doesn't explode. It just crashes and breaks apart.
Right. And then we cut to our heroes regrouping, and what?
Benny is like, "Oh, that was cool with the big wall and everything." As Imhotep walks by, you bash. You can cut that. Sorry, I just
So we cut to our heroes regrouping, and we find out that Winston, in fact, did not make it.
no, he did not make it. He got his wish.
Yep. And then we're back to Evie and Benny.
And we find out the plane crashed in sand in quicksand too. It starts sinking.
Yeah. So
And
Winston gets his proper burial.
Yep, and
Oh,
the Ardith Bay grabs the gun off the back of the plane too before it goes down.
nice.
So they got big weaponry.
Smart thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we cut to Evie and Benny, and they're just kind of walking, and she's like, "You're a smarmy little guy. And people like you always get their comeuppance. And he's like, first he doesn't take her seriously. He's like, yeah, whatever. And he goes, wait, really? And she goes, oh yeah, no, it always comes back at you. And he's kind of that's great because you can see his like concern growing, but not always. And he goes, oh yeah, every time. Eventually, it catches up with you, and he like trying to act like he's not worried, but you can see he's worried.
Yeah.
And she's like, I hope you get yours.
Basically.
But then we cut back to Rick, Magi, and Jonathan almost gets beetled.
He does. He
Like,
does. Rick and Magi are trying to dig into this into the city. Some
yeah,
rocks
Jonathan's
got
just
caved.
back there. He's like, well, get on it.
Yeah, I was like, this is what you should do. Take from the top. It'll come down if you don't. And they kind of give
And
him a
then
look. So he's like,
they
ooh,
give
what's
him a look.
this?
They give him a look, and he goes, well, get to it. And then he goes, oh, what's this? Yeah, and finds this jeweled scarab beetle, and then yeah, things happen, and
Yeah, it
Rick saves him.
buries into his hand.
Yeah, and starts going up, and then they find it, and Rick stabs it and flings it, and then shoots it stupidly, because that's how Emotep knows that they're there.
True. He hears the gunshot. It's like, oh no, my priests. Go get them.
Yeah, and then he sends his priest after him. And then Rick's party arrives in the treasure room, and you get a scene that reminds me of a scene out of like Zelda or something.
I was going to say Aladdin. Well, at least
Like
the treasure room. Like, touch nothing but the lamp.
right. But then you figure like Zelda, where you're walking through the dungeon, and you step on the wrong thing, and all of a sudden the monsters come up through the floor, and
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah,
fight them.
they just burst out of the ground. Like, we're here.
Yeah, so they're all opening fire. It's full on. They're killing these things.
Yeah. Rick's like, who are these guys? He's like, they're Imhotep priests. Like, oh, okay. And they just start shooting.
Yep, and then we get a little glimpse of Evie being tied up on an altar next to a Noxunamun.
Yep. They've
And
got
then
her body. They've got Evie.
Yep, and
They're
then
all
we
ready to go.
briefly cut back to that's just a brief little thing, and then it cuts back to Rick's party, and they find the right statue.
Yes, they have found the right
of
statue at this point.
Yeah, of Horus.
Yep.
So they're trying to get into that, and now we cut back to Emotep's trying to resurrect Noxunamun. Rick's party's trying to get the correct book, and Benny's trying to load up his camel with as much gold as possible. That's where we are.
Yeah. Benny's kind of slipped away and has started loading up his camel.
Yep. But Rick's party is starting to get a little bogged down. They can't get the book because they keep getting attacked. So Magi guy basically sacrifices himself to go and take on the priests alone.
Yeah, he's like, get the book, get the girl, and go.
Yeah, and then Rick throws like a dynamite thing to blow up the rest of the ones.
Yep.
It's like a firecracker or something like that.
Dynamite.
Dynamite, yep. But yeah, Emotep is basically to the point of almost completing his resurrection of Noxunamun. Our heroes need a key because they have the book, but the book is in Emotep's pocket.
The key's in the pocket.
The key is in Emotep's pocket.
Yeah. I thought you said the book was in his pocket.
No, the key is in Emotep's pocket. I might have said it wrong.
Yeah, so Jonathan's up there yelling about the key at the top of the little ramp thing to kind of distract everybody so Rick can come in from behind and clean house.
Right. And so Rick is fighting. He looks like he's in trouble, but he does okay. He frees Abby.
He's got this cool sword.
Yep. He cuts Evie free. And then more like super priests come out of the ground now.
Yeah, so Jonathan's reading the cover of the book and summons
Right.
the warriors.
Yes.
But he doesn't complete the incantation, so he can't control them. So Evie's like, just finish the thing and you can control them. Rick's like, do it quick because they're coming at me.
Yeah. So Rick's running, and let's see.
And Jonathan's trying to remember his hieroglyphics.
Right. And he can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And Noxunamun is attacking Evie. The guards are going after Rick, and Jonathan is desperately trying to figure out what the last hieroglyph is, and he's like, I can't do it. And Evie's like, what does it look like? And he explains it to her, and she goes, it
looks like a bird. It's a stork. And she's like, it's a manifest.
Yes. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess it is.
Oh yeah, I see that, yeah.
And so he completes the incantation, and at the last second possible, these things are about to stab Rick through the face.
Yeah. He's got one spear buried deep in his cheek.
Yeah. But Neo has control of them, and he has them essentially kill Moon.
Yeah, they're like, go just to the moon.
Yeah, which I'm like, oh, that's mean, but it's also really clever because it gets Emotep mad at him. So Emotep goes after Jonathan, and Jonathan, being the pickpocket that he is, uses this opportunity to take the key, and then Rick comes in and distracts Emotep, pulls him off.
Yeah. So
He-
Rick cuts off Imhotep's arm
That's right. He cuts off
that
his arm.
he's got holding up Jonathan with. And I mean, they did a great job with it. The arm comes off, you don't see anything; it just lands and falls. The good use of the camera angles, so you don't see blood or gore or anything.
Yeah, and then he puts it back on.
Yeah, which another great shot because you just see him. You see the line on his arm, but he's twisting it like he's locking it back into place.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
great.
so now he's
And then
focused on Rick, while Jonathan's got the key, Evie's got the book, and they partner up to try and find a spell or something to deal with Imhotep.
and they do. Miss Evie reads from the book, and we see a horse and chariot in like shadow spirit form
Yeah.
ride through and take Emotep.
Yes. Take his immortal soul or
Yep.
his immortality.
Right. Well, we don't know that. We just see him get dragged away,
Right.
and then he comes back, and
Right.
Rick's like, what?
Yeah. He's like, well, I thought this was supposed to do something.
I thought this was supposed to kill him." And she's like, "No, it just makes him mortal." And Rick stabs him through the tummy.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, oh no, I don't like this."
He's like, oh, I feel pain.
And he looks very surprised.
He does look very surprised and
And
concerned.
then he falls into the weird pool of black stuff
Yeah. Weird black water.
and dies.
He turns
And then
back to his mummy form and
Yeah.
just kind of sinks.
And then we cut back to Benny,
We do cut back to Benny.
who is still loading up his camel.
Yep, he is carrying bags and bags of loot that make him encumbered, so he needs a short rest.
And he just happens to set his bag on the self-destruct button for the entire tomb.
Which is weirdly placed in a hallway.
Yeah. What are the odds?
Yeah, or perfectly placed in a hallway. But I'm guessing it takes a lot of effort to put it down, which is why the whole bag of gold might do it, but I don't know.
Yeah. But now you come back to Rick, and Rick's like, "Oh, time to go."
Yeah, as the ceiling starts coming down.
Yep. And so this tomb is basically collapsing on itself.
Right. In Rick, Evie, and Jonathan's mind, they killed Emotep, and something's broken, and now the whole thing comes down.
Right.
Benny's the only one.
Been broken.
Yeah, this place must go. Benny's the only one that knows he accidentally caused the self-destruct.
Yeah. So they're all running for it, and our heroes get out of the exit, and you know what? God bless him. He tries to save Benny too.
Yeah. So Jonathan drops the book of Amon Ra.
Yeah.
Into one of the black pools of icky water.
Yeah.
Evie's like, "What'd you do?" They just grab her and we keep running. Like, nope, we can't stay. Then Jonathan stops for a second when they get in the big gold room. He's like, "Can't we just grab something?" Like, no, let's go. This thing's coming down.
Yeah.
And as they're getting out, Benny's like 5 steps behind him.
Right. Well, and he was trying to drag his gold, and he tried to drag his gold for a little too long before he abandons it and runs, and he doesn't quite make it, and he almost gets crushed a couple times.
He does. Rick is reaching for him to try and pull him through, but he can't do it. So
yeah. So
the door closes. He says goodbye, Benny,
and Benny escapes from getting crushed to death.
Yeah,
only
which
to
is
get beetled to death.
very, very claustrophobic feeling. I'm not super claustrophobic, but man, that ceiling coming down on him, you're like,
What would be worse?
Getting crushed or beetled?
Yeah.
Beetled? But it's not a fast crushing. It's a slow. Right? It's just kind of you feel the pressure, you start squishing, and then pop like a balloon. Or would beetles be worse?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, they make it outside. We see that guy still alive.
Yeah, they get outside. One last jump scare of the Magi grabbing Jonathan by the shoulder because they didn't notice him on the camel.
Yep.
But they're like, "Hey, you made it," and I was like, "Yay!"
Yep. And then Rick and Evie kiss. They love each
Yep.
other. Yay.
And Jonathan's like, "Ugh, let's just go.
Yeah,
I'm
Jonathan's
sad.
pretty
We're not.
pretty
We're
bummed that
poor."
yeah, he's bummed that there's no loot. But then they see Benny's camel, and Benny's
Yep.
not going to be using it.
Nope. I mean, they see a bunch of camels, so
Yeah,
they grab Benny's camel because you
which
see
is
the bag of loot on the back.
yep, there's a lot of stuff there. And then they ride off into the sunset
Yep,
and we
they
roll
do.
credits.
Fun fact:
Yes.
after the first opening night of this movie, the next day, the director, Steven Summers, got a call from Universal's like, "You have to make another one."
Yeah,
It did
because
it did so well. They're like, "We need a sequel."
The Mummy Returns comes out 2 years later.
Yep.
Like it literally came out the opening night, and then the director called back the cast and was like, "I need y'all. We're doing this again."
Yeah, basically.
And they got right to work.
Yeah. Start on the script, start on everything.
Well, you want to give your final thoughts on this film?
Sure. I love this movie. I've always loved this movie. I had a great time with it. Picked up on a few things that I hadn't before. Just watch things again and like, oh yeah, the idea that they might be father son with the Magi and the museum curator. Um, but I mean, because he's a Magi too. He's one of the Magi too, protecting it, which is why he burned the map and he's protecting it.
Right.
But yeah, no, a great action comedy movie. It does things. It does the horror aspect in a way where it's not gory or over the top. Does the comedy really well. Its effects still hold up pretty well. It's I love this movie. I think it's a great one.
Yeah.
What about you?
Agree. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, absolutely love the mummy movies. Uh, Funny though is I've only really ever seen them on TV on cable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we never really would go out of our way to watch it. It's just that the suit TBS would always play them,
Yeah.
and so me or Dad would usually stumble upon it. Oh,
Okay.
the Mummy's on. I love these movies, and we'd watch it on the cable. And you know how cable, it's a 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
They gotta squeeze that into a 3 hour TV block
Yeah.
with commercials, so things get cut. And so it was it was a little bit darker than I remembered it being.
Oh, yeah. Just in
I,
tone.
just in tone, yeah. I pictured it not being so scary in the beginnings and whatnot. But yeah,
Okay.
it was darker and scarier than I remembered it being. And I might also be thinking of The Mummy Returns,
Yeah.
getting them mixed up
It's
because it'd been
you
so
get
long since I've seen them both.
you get this on a handful of sequels and stuff where the second one's a little bit lighter, a little bit um, sillier. It definitely has some of those. This was great, but let's dial it down just a little bit. Get the kids involved.
Okay, so we're thinking that's what The Mummy Return did.
The Mummy Returns definitely added up upped up the silly a little bit more than the first one did, and I don't think it's quite as dark, but it might be. I can't remember.
Kind of like what the Mighty Ducks did.
Yeah, and Ghostbusters 1 and 2, not vastly different, but it did the same thing. It's like, here, ramp up the silly a little bit, tone down the dark. Let's get the kids involved.
Okay, so I guess we will see what happens when we watch The Mummy Returns next.
Yes, because there's no surprise. The Mummy Returns is coming at you next.
All right. Well, thank you for everyone who joined us on this journey through. Yeah, I don't
Ancient
have
Egypt,
anything. Ancient Egypt. I guess we didn't go to what
Egypt in the
ancient
20s.
in 100 Egypt 100 years ago. Thank you for to all of those who.
Oh, don't say that. But yeah, this movie takes place about 100 years ago.
Almost exactly.
Yeah. Uh.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you to everyone who joined us for this adventure through the Mummy, and join us next time for the Mummy Returns. Following which, we will get back to our regularly scheduled surprises. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can do so. watchitbropodcast@gmail.com. We are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, under the handle at watchitbropod. Facebook and Instagram, also that same handle. Marshall looked like he had something he wanted to say.
Nope. I was just rubbing my eye.
Ah, our intro and outro music is now provided by my lovely wife. That intro being Blue, that outro being Orlando. And as always, Thank you for watching.